Welcome to the Abundant Accountant podcast, where accounting, tax, and bookkeeping firm owners learn to scale with confidence, charge premium fees, and reclaim their time. Hosted by yours truly, Michelle Weinstein, this podcast gives you the proven frameworks, the mindset shifts, and success stories you need to transform your firm from overworked and undervalued to confident and profitable. If you're ready to master the art of enrollment and build a firm that supports your life instead of consuming it, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Abundant Accountant podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Our special guest is a client of ours from 2022. We're getting a 3-year update from her today. She is the founder of Tax Time Ledgers, which is a virtual tax strategy and advisory firm serving clients nationwide. She helps entrepreneurs, investors, and families reduce taxes, protect assets, and build wealth with purpose. And she was also working at Deloitte and as a CFO, and now she leads her own boutique tax firm. And she's also known for her signature approach, the tax strategy with soul. And she does have a lot of soul. She's also the host of the Double D Triple T podcast, where she shares insights and interviews that inspire confident financial growth. But before we welcome our very special guest to the show, if you've created a firm, even if it's on the side, like a side hustle firm, but it still feels like a job that you can't escape because you don't have any sales systems in place and you don't really have a plan for freedom, it's time to make a shift. You shouldn't have to hit burnout to get to your next revenue goal, and you don't need more clients. You just need better quality ones, and you need a sales process to close and enroll them and increase the fees to your current clients. Here at The Abundant Accountant, I show you how to package your services, raise your prices, and work with high margin clients who actually respect your time. So if you want to respect your time and create your dream firm, then go to theabundantcall.com and let's lay out a roadmap that turns your firm into a real asset instead of feeling like just a glorified job. Once again, that's theabundantcall.com. And now let's welcome our very special guest, Terri Peters, to the show. Welcome to the show, Terri.
Well, thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here on the Abundant Accountant podcast because today is very special. You are our client, always will be because you're part of the family, but you worked with us back in 2022. And I remember you were at a crossroads. I don't know if you remember, but I'm sure you can remember, where you told me I looked at our notes, you were working long hours. You were torn between this security kind of job that you had and then running also your own boutique tax strategy firm at the time. And you correct me if anything's wrong, okay? But you felt undervalued, overworked, and constantly on the treadmill with no time to yourself, your family, or even your piano. So I'd love it if you can share a little bit about who you are and where you're at in the country, and then we'll dive into what's changed since 2022, because now is 2025. So it's been about 3 years.
That's right. Well, everything you said was pretty much right. And it's funny you mentioned that, and my heart just went right back to when I made that decision. I had to draw the line in the sand and say, okay, no more building on the side. I decided I've never been happy working for somebody else.
When did you quit your job? Was it just in that moment, or did you wait?
Right when we finished our project together, our work together.
So you did the 8-week sales mastery course and then quit. So 2 months. Okay.
I just got to the point where I knew I needed to run my own firm, but I didn't feel like I had something to sell that I could charge what I was asked to, like what we were working on. And I came up with $2,500 a month. And I thought, well, shit, I need to do more than a tax return for $2,500 a month. I need to learn these tax strategies. So what it did, one of the biggest things that I got out of your program, and there's several things we'll talk about, but one of the biggest things I got was to make the money I wanted to make and to be able to have the life that allowed me to pick and choose who I wanted to work with, what I was going to charge. I wanted to charge a lot, but I wanted to be able to give value. I needed to do more work. All these wants are great to lay out. So then I started thinking, well, how do I get there? So that's when I started with the Mark Kohler Certified Tax Advisor Network, because that guy knows every single strategy out there. And I thought, well, I'm going to learn that. So now I'm his implementer. I
Yeah,
implement the Mark Kohler strategies, and I utilize my sales mastery course to be able to vet which clients I want to work with. When I have the initial call,
yes.
I have all the questionnaire that I had started back with you. I haven't changed maybe one or two questions
That's
over the last
amazing.
several
Because
years.
once you create the foundation, that's for everything. So let's go back in time because in 2022, looking back, you said, you wanted to have a career and a life that made you say, you know, I'm happy, I feel free, and you knew something had to be different. And you also mentioned that you were done making someone else money while being held back from your dream, right? So what did that feel like at that time?
Well, I felt like a prisoner. I felt like I was nonstop working. Someone could fire you in a second. During that
Yep.
whole COVID time, I got fired from one job because I wouldn't follow some of the policies they had going on. I don't mean to be political. That's not what I'm saying it for. I'm just saying that was a situation, and I had to go get another job. And I mean, it's just like, I'm old. I don't need this kind of stuff. I mean, I know I'm good at what I do, and I was holding myself back, thinking it was security. But when I finally, took your class, and I watched you as a business owner also, Michelle. It wasn't just your course that I took. You're a very good businesswoman. I mean, all the way from your sales, all the way to when you meet with someone to even determine if you want to work with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then closing the deal. I
Yep.
mean, you're very good at it. I close, but I close differently. And you're a great salesperson, and you also deliver because I've been in the course. So
Yeah.
if I'm going to pay for something, and someone's going to deliver what I'm paying for, I'm going to tell the world about it. And I talk about you all the time with my other colleagues.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
very important what you do. So don't sell yourself short. People, whoever's listening to this, if you're really looking for a way to build a foundation for your business, number one, starting with, what who you are, like how much time have you put into, building your career. I mean, all the way from college and the things that you gave up to because you had to take tests or, take this class or that class or whatever. But those hours studying and preparing, and then all the continuing education for, keeping licenses, and, all the different work that we do, and all the times we have to go back and, read the instructions on a tax form or whatever, all the meetings that we have, all the different things that we're spending time, that we're working to build our intelligence, our knowledge, our experience. All those things are very, very important.
Yep.
And when you add up all those hours and quantify it, even $100 an hour, I mean, I charge more than that.
Well, before you actually used the term, I don't know if you remember, but you were vomiting your worth. And yeah. And you told me that I don't even know what you told me when you ended up enrolling with me, but let's get back to that time. So before joining the 8-week sales mastery course, you were vomiting your worth, and, something clearly had to change. And you wanted to sell more tax planning and tax strategy, but it wasn't more about the technical knowledge you needed. You needed to learn how to get past scarcity. So what were your biggest fears and hesitations about enrolling in the 8-week sales mastery course? Because you were like a 180 different person back then, Terry. You were not happy with me. You were like,
No, I wasn't. I thought you were aggressive, and I felt like I got talked into something that I
uh-huh.
that I regretted right after. And because I was excited, but then all of a sudden I committed to the cost, and I didn't have that just sitting in the bank account to spend. I had two kids in college and starting over after, a divorce several years earlier. And I just was kind of mad at myself. But I knew in my heart, I made the call. I talked to you. I wanted to do it. Everything we talked about was right. But then I got scared. And so then I blamed you. So that was my mistake, because it turned out that the lessons I learned from you. And I tell you that every once in a while, if I ever get a chance to talk to you or respond to something on social with you, just, I just love what you do. I love how you do it. It has to be done that way. It's your style. And I read this book called Let Them. And so I've learned, let you do that because you're good at it. That's your style. That's what you do. You're not my style. You're like, I have a totally different style, but all the
Yeah.
stuff I learned from you, I use every day.
I love that. And I think, like you said, you got scared. And then sometimes we don't take responsibility and ownership on that. And at the time, you said you blamed me, right? And at the time, you felt like you got talked into something or I was aggressive. And those are all the things that, like you said, made you mad at yourself. What was that thing that got you past that to say, okay, I'm going to be open to this? I knew I needed to make a change because I think a lot of firm owners are probably thinking the exact same thing you just said. They make decisions, right? Like I've heard, and afterwards, about 2 months later, I usually hear like, okay, I'm so sorry, Michelle. I didn't mean any of that. But in the moment, that's the stuff that comes up. It's the fear, right? You blame someone else. You think, oh, I got talked into something. I was sold something. I don't remember the words you told me in the email or in the phone call that we had. But how did you get past that so you could say, okay, I just found money, even though was divorced and had, 2 kids in college. I didn't have this cash just sitting aside. How did you even open up your mind to listen to what you were learning and say, okay, I'm going to see what's inside this program, see what Michelle has to teach and really start to own my value and stop discounting and charge the fees I want so I can have a different life. How was that shift internally for you for other firm owners that might be thinking the exact same thing you were, or maybe even had a call with us, did not enroll because they thought we were too aggressive or felt like they were getting talked into something, because that's just a perception.
It is a perception. And I think by the time we're calling you, and I'm going to speak for myself because I
Yes.
mean, I haven't really talked to anybody else how they felt. I mean, I met a few people in our group that I became friends with since, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been a really nice relationship. But to me, I felt like when I first got in there, first I had that fear, and then I was like, okay, because I had charged it. So then I was like, oh my gosh, and I got this credit card. And so, that's like the last thing I'm supposed to be doing. But I realized I'm investing in myself and I'm investing in my business, and that's debt that's okay. And so I knew without a doubt that where I wanted to go, and I knew I had to do this. But I didn't know Google very well, so that's what made it even more frustrating. I think that's where like 90% of my frustration. And I just saw on another meeting that I just saw a few minutes ago. There's somebody that doesn't really know how to use Google, and I don't know if it's just us older ladies or whatever, but I use it all the time now.
Uh-huh.
And so you helped me like break the ice. But it was listening to some of the other people that when I figured stuff out and then I'd hear them talk, and it was always us older ones. I started like looking stuff up on YouTube and I educated myself.
Yeah.
And I started using it in my business. And so
Mhm.
now I have Google Workspace. So I have graduated.
So
But
funny.
but seriously, the frustration and not being
Yes.
able to communicate and turn stuff in and try and do this and that and not having like papers in front of you. I mean, oh my God, it was just, but I needed to get myself into the digital world at that level. I mean, I know how to use my computers and use my software,
Mhm.
but that was a big education. And I think a lot of us will be going through that. Don't be afraid of it. It can be your friend.
Yes.
And also I like how you showed us how to do like, build questionnaires. So I think that's when things started changing for me. When it started becoming personal, like I wasn't fighting
Mhm.
with the technology and trying to figure out how to use Google and how to send you something and share this document and how to copy something, all that stuff. I mean, it just drove me up the freaking wall. But
Mhm.
once I started getting a little bit more comfortable with it, and then we started going through like doing the questionnaire, like what and defining our ideal client. Then it became part of my own essence, my
Mhm.
heart that I am, because I'm kind of the hippie. I like the sound bowls and
Yeah.
crystals and, walking at the beach, take my paddleboard out. There's dolphins out. I love it. That kind of stuff. Yoga, Pilates. So and I'm not a typical accountant, as you can tell. I mean, I'm a very good accountant, but I'm an extrovert. I externally process everything.
Yeah. 95% of the people that are working with us are introverts.
Yes.
Yes.
I scare people sometimes, but I found my niche and I'm very good at what I do. Mark Kohler has been a blessing to me. He's a
Mhm.
friend. He's a mentor. I've just learned so much stuff from him as far as the strategies, and to implement them. I get to work with so many different people. So even though I went from, rags of like, oh, I don't really want to invest myself because I'm afraid because I'm the primary breadwinner, blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
to, well, I did it. And
Yeah.
then for my husband to say, Terri, you're investing in yourself and your business. What is the problem? We'll be fine. And to do the work and to get through the annoying part of Google and then to start really touching into who I am and what my essence, I realized I get to freaking create myself. What the heck
Yeah.
am I complaining about?
I
And so then when I
know.
started doing that, that's when I came alive. That's when
Yeah.
strategies came alive. That's when my billing came alive. That's when I told
That's when
people,
you stop blaming me for everything, right?
I totally stopped blaming you at that point. And I think I sent you an email and thanked and apologized. I'm pretty sure I would have if I can't I don't keep
I
score.
don't
So
remember, but I've been told that, Terry, by not, there's been others. You're not the only one.
well, you
I
know
usually,
what? Everybody has a different personality, and I can be tough. I mean, Terri Peters, and a lot of times people say, "Hey, TFP. You don't want TFP to come out," and we all know what that means.
yes.
So, because you know what, when TFP comes to the party, I don't like that side of
Yeah,
myself. But
true.
not everybody's. Sometimes someone's going to get that from me, and I hate that. But that's because if someone messes with my clients, I'm like on it. I'm
Yeah.
no, they're like my family. But you have given me the ability to create a family of love between myself and my clients, whether they're business
Love
owners
that.
or just personal. Not everybody's going to be in my concierge program, but I have great pride in it, and I've started a podcast interviewing people that are doing different things to help others. Whether it's a business idea or an investment opportunity or just a way of doing something or some kind of tax strategy. So I'm starting to realize how much the heart is important to me.
Yes.
And it's because your program, and I don't know if anyone has ever told you this. I mean, I'm sure that people get a lot of different things out of it, but I got how I can personalize my firm to me. And
Hmm.
and then I attract the people that are looking for that kind of relationship.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
that's, I think it's a beautiful thing. And
Well, and I think that's what allowed you to charge more. So I'd love it if you could share, Terry. I know when we first met, you were not confidently enrolling clients. You were undervaluing yourself. You were constantly, like you said, on that treadmill with no time for yourself, family, or even the piano. But you also weren't charging enough. So, can you share with us financially the increase, the wins, the gains of where things were back in 22 and where things are at now? Because I know you're charging anywhere from about 2,500 to 3,500 per month per client. You obviously know your value now and you are living on your terms. But if you could share that difference and the increase in gain, that would be lovely.
okay, well, before I was charging what I thought I could charge, what everybody else was charging from the different firms in town. And I put a lot more into the returns that I was doing than I knew these other companies were. They just took numbers and put them in the returns, and I was actually going through the books. And so that's where I was spending a lot of time doing things and not getting paid because
Yep.
my clients, I had to start with people that didn't have a lot,
Hmm.
and I didn't feel, I didn't have, like I said, until I met Kohler, I never felt like I could charge a lot because I would
Hmm.
never pay some of those fees just to do a tax return, unless it was a huge tax
Right.
return, which most of them aren't. But when you can give value and content, I'm talking about, do they have their liabilities in order? Do they have spending problems? Do we have a credit card issue we need to address together to come up with a plan of action to get somebody out of that and get
Hmm.
into a different, and I constantly use your favorite thing, this from scarcity to abundant mindset.
Yep.
That's where I was before. And I was like, okay, I started raising my rates. Some people left, some people stayed. I
Hmm.
didn't have like, a big steady thing. I had like a handful of monthly
Hmm.
clients and, my tax people. And I finally got to the point where I was able to start doing the bookkeeping and accounting and starting to set up a little bit of a program. So maybe it was like $500 a month. And, I could work my way into that. And then all of a sudden I'd say, well, if I'm going to do bookkeeping, it's going to be this much a month. So then I was starting to, increase that little bit. But when I got my certification from Kohler, that's when I was like, now I can charge my rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I did, because I'm like having the best time.
So you went from
of my
an
life.
average 500 a month to now 2,500 to 3,500 a month.
Yeah, and some will be more than that.
Yeah.
It depends on how many entities they have. But no, it's a lot of work. But I've been able to bring on a whole accounting team in India. In fact, I'm going to India in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
October 13th. And I'm going to be there for a month. I'm going to be spending 3 of the weeks with my team and my manager that's over there, and then 1 week for myself. So, I would never have been able to do this if I didn't take that first step with you and really learn my value, and then learn the tools like getting the questionnaire in order, having a process for the sales calls, and they call, and then you have that first call, and then bringing them to the next call, and then deciding, are you going to, invite them to the concierge program or not? And then having like these processes that I never thought of. I mean, my brain does not think in processes. I'm an idea person. That's why I'm not like your typical.
Yes, you're not like. But again, it's really important to remember that, because you didn't have that. So it doesn't matter how much technical skills, how much you learn from Mark on the technical side, on the tax planning side. If you can't sell it, it doesn't mean anything. How would you share that with another firm owner now going through that and realizing that the technical had to come second? Like, you knew enough technically, you just didn't have the sales process foundation. And then you could put, what do they say? Oil on the fire to make it really go.
Put gas in the fire.
Gas on the fire.
Yeah. I do the same things. No, to me, it's more like I had my skill set. I knew I was good at what I was. I knew I was good with people, because every client I ever worked with, whether it was somebody else's or my own, I've always gotten along great with the clients. And so I knew I had a gift of gab and a gift of helping people and learning difficult things and being able to explain it so they could understand it, and that they're heard and listened, and, whatever. I always knew that was there. But I think when you have the technical stuff, that's great. But in order to run a business of your own, you have to do some kind of sales course. I mean, I took marketing and, all that kind of stuff in college, but it's different because I had to learn new technology, all the Google stuff. And now it's like everywhere. And, I had to learn how to get in Zoom calls with a group of people and give people time and listen to people say things. And you just want to tell them, stop talking.
Yep.
And then other times wanting to ask 3 questions in a row and feeling like other people are thinking the same thing about me, stop talking, but I had to learn how to behave in this new digital environment that I normally didn't have to be in. It's one thing to be on a call with my client, but to be in a room with all these different people. And then, you set me up because, when I did my certification program later, I had the same.
Then you really put the gas on the fire.
Yeah, because then I'm talking to all the attorneys and everybody else, so the tax attorneys. But no, it's been a great journey, Michelle. And I had to reach back the other day to tell you how much I love you and how much I'm so grateful for the program you have, and for all the people that are out there. If you're trying to figure it out, you don't have to be like me where you're, chatty Cathy talking away, talking up a storm, but you don't have to, there's nothing wrong if you want to be that person that just doesn't really want to, you just want to do the work and you don't want to have a lot of communication. If you have the processes in place, you can still totally communicate in a way that your client loves without you actually having to stop what you're doing and have that communication. I know there's a couple people that have programs that they're trying to teach, the tech stack so that you can automate things, but, you can use ChatGPT to make, tone something a different way, jazz it up a little bit.
There's no AI that's going to replace a sales call. Not in this lifetime, and I think, Terri, there's many firm owners like you who are listening right now that they might feel like they're on that treadmill like you once had described. So what would you say to them if they're scared to make that investment in themselves, or they think the next software is going to solve their sales problems, or they think the next certification is going to solve their sales problem? What would you say to someone who keeps circling back to security? right? Scarcity versus abundance. Like, what would you share with them?
Well, the first part of that question, remind me in the second part with that. But the first part, to me, it's like you have to have, you're never going to be secure in anything. But if you have to depend on somebody else, that to me was creating unnecessary unrest inside of me, because I knew that I didn't have security. I thought I did, but I really just had a steady paycheck. There's a difference between security and steady paycheck. I make multiple six figures right now. I was not making even $100,000 a year when I first got started.
Yep.
I haven't even really started marketing yet, because I've been really working on my skill set, and now I'm working on all my admin stuff. So what I wanted to say to people that are trying to decide, what they should do, that you get the next app, do you do the next certification, put a halt on everything and invest in yourself. That's what I say. And I think when you work with Michelle's program, what I like about it is it really did an internal. If you took the time to go through it, you weren't rushing through the program. It went into the internal part where I had to literally come up with a radio frequency name and give it a station number, and I had 18 things on there of what I expected, the type of clients I have. I have it sitting right next to me.
But honestly, Terri, I think that's why, like you said, you haven't even started marketing yet. There's so many people that we talk to. When I ask, what's the biggest challenge around your sales in your firm? They say, I need more leads. They say lead generation, and they say marketing. And I'm like, nope, that's not your problem. What would you say to a firm owner that thinks that? Because you get the difference. You get that you have to have those internal parts. And I mean, you're doing multiple six figures and you haven't even started marketing yet. What would you say is the difference between learning and implementing and doing marketing or spending money on ads versus learning how to enroll, how to sell, and creating a sales process and structure to follow and communicating with your clients?
Well, I've had to think about that a lot, because everybody's doing all these marketing, campaigns or whatever. Now, I do have a virtual assistant now, and he does do social media posting to get followers, and I do have my podcast. But that's all just been happening recently, and he's branded, he's got my brand, and he's dropping out little tax tips. But, that's not bringing in any business for me or any calls.
Right.
But it's actually really fun to do, because what I'm doing is I'm branding myself. So I'm seeing, what do I want to share with people? Yeah. What do I want people to know? And, how do I want it to be out there? So it's very creative, and I don't have to come up with the creation. They are. And I love these guys. It's this guy Paolo and his fiance Gabriele, if they're out there listening. I absolutely love them. And they're getting married soon, but they're a great team for me, and they've really helped me see who I truly am. Mm-hmm. And they're such a couple of cheerleaders for me, and the team Terri, and they're always coming out with these really cool things. But I think that I haven't put the time into the big marketing. My son-in-law actually has a marketing agency, but he's like, you let me know when you're ready to fly and I'll take it from there.
Yeah, but you haven't had to market. So
no, I don't want that much work.
Right, but how is learning the sales process and learning how to sell and enroll and overcome objections really helped you get to multiple six figures in your firm versus just doing the 100,000 without marketing? Because most firm owners would say, well, how do you do that if you don't do that with marketing? That's what I'm saying. It's not about that. It's about charging more and all the other things that you've implemented.
Exactly. Well, I had a point to my comment that I was making.
Oh,
so the thing is I have all that getting started, and that's what most people start with. I never wanted to do that in the first couple years, because I felt like if I bring in, because I know I'm good at what I do. So I know that anybody I work with is going to love my work. I don't mean it in an arrogant way either. I just, it's confidence is the difference.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want to have so much work and then not have a process in place, because it was driving me crazy with the process I was trying to handle by myself. And when I went with you, it helped me get some organizational skills and processes in place and things like that, so that I didn't have to, I could duplicate easier. And I thought that that gave me that solid foundation that we talked about earlier. I mean, the solid foundation is when you know that you have a process from start to end and you don't have to keep wasting time reinventing the wheel, that
Yep.
you could just duplicate, at whatever level you want. Then try it out with your firm and see if it's working and get it to
Right.
be like comfortable and everything's moving and fine tune it. And then you go out and market, you're ready. You just got to hire more bodies, more people that are wanting to do the same thing with
Yeah.
you and share the same vision, that want to work with you, and you can grow your firm. But I feel like the marketing coming too early for me would have overwhelmed me. And so I've been able to build a beautiful practice, and I have the time to play around my piano, have the time to, play on my sound bowls, and have the time to, hop on a podcast or send an email to somebody who was, helped me get to where I am. I mean, I'm just getting rolling. I'm having a blast. I'm having the time of my life.
I
And
love
it's all
that.
because I stopped being afraid, and I don't have scarcity anymore, because when I started realizing who I am through your program, and I know this sounds weird, but I found abundance when I started writing that stuff down about myself. I was like, wow, all right. Yeah. Okay, I like that. I like those things about myself. And I've been able to really work on them and keep
I love,
myself in a space to continue forward
I
with it.
love that you found abundance inside the Abundant Accountant 8-week sales process
Yeah,
book.
that's,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Find abundance with the abundant accountant.
Yeah. I'm curious, Terry, if you hadn't taken that leap to work with me, even though you were very not happy with me in that sales call that we had, where do you think you would be today if, you didn't take that leap? I know you were a prisoner before. You felt like you didn't have any security, but obviously, you took that leap and you trusted me enough to say, okay, whatever, even though you got scared and blamed me too. But, but if you hadn't done all that and taken the leap and trusted the process, where do you think you would be today?
Well, I believe that there's many paths to the same place. I think I would, I don't know what my path would have been if I didn't start with yours. Because I always felt I resonated with it when I went back and started like reviewing the stuff that we did. I started realizing I truly am that person that I created when I was starting with you. And I think that that confidence has brought me to the space I am now. If I went a different path, I might financially be where I wanted to be, because I would have still, found Mark Kohler. I mean, all that kind of stuff. Because, everyone listens to his YouTube videos. So, I mean, the guy is just amazing. And, I would have found that no matter what. But I don't think I would have been settled inside about like, this is my business. I've created this from scratch. I've created it all the way down to who my avatar is. What's my ideal client? What do I want to offer to my clients? What packages do I want to have? How am I going to price them? How am I going to talk about them on a sales call? How am I going to be able to ask the questions to ask and get under somebody's hood to find out where they're afraid, and what they're trying to accomplish, and really get under the hood of somebody's heart, to get to their heart, to find out so you can help them. And those questionnaires are amazing. And when we start building that kind of value, I have so much more to bring to the plate. So I think if I went a different path, I would hope that I'd find what I found with you, but I can't imagine not having it, put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can only imagine. I mean, you get to live your life and have peace and freedom and play your piano and do your sound bowls and not be stressed out against deadlines all the time. And I think that's what you created. You created a business that works for your life instead of creating yourself a job. So for the firm owner listening who's still stuck in that, I'll just try to figure this out on my own for another few months, or stuck in a scarcity mindset, or, I'm just going to work this job a few more months and then I'm going to go all in on my side hustle firm. Or for the firm owner that feels like a prisoner, what would you tell them right now, knowing that you're talking to yourself where we first spoke if you can remember that, Terry, right? The angry one, the prisoner, the one that, just felt like you got talked into anything, like the negative Nancy. Like, what would you say to that firm owner who's just really wants something different, but hasn't made the call to make an ask to change and say, hey, look, I can't do this anymore on my own. I need help. What would you say to that firm owner if you were to talk to yourself back early 2022?
Well, I'd say, the reason why we're all frustrated, or I was you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. You don't know what you need. You just don't like where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that you're capable of more.
Yes.
But where do you go? There's so many people taking advantage of us. There's ads and it turns out to be nothing and whatever, spend a lot of money and you don't get anything out of it.
I hear that all the time. People contact us. They've spent $20,000, $30,000 on other coaches and other programs. And, it, like you said, it's not delivering, or what would you say to that person who's skeptic because of all that noise out there?
Well, yeah, I feel for him because I was the same way. And finally, just what was going on. And I just thought, if I don't invest, you said something about like, if you don't do something today, how are you going to change tomorrow or something like that? Or, you're still going to have the same situation. And I thought to myself, I already took your time. I know it's going to be the right thing. Because of money? That's ridiculous. So I went for it. And I'll tell you, I get why people don't want to, because there are so many opportunities to be taken advantage of. But I went through it. Guys, I went through this program, and if you guys have looked me up, I'm Terri Peters. I have a podcast. It's DDTTT.me. So just DDTTT.me. That's my podcast. That's who I am. And I would not be doing that if it wasn't for what happened with Michelle. I went on a path. I met Michelle. I learned about myself. I defined what I wanted, how I wanted to feel in my office with my clients, what kind of relationship, what kind of energy, and then what kind of work did I want to do, and what kind of programs, all that. I defined all of that stuff. I didn't have to just wing it and just take whatever came my way. I had a blueprint of what to do, and because of that, I was able to successfully get to the next thing. So if you're looking for what the next step is, you want to listen to Terri Peters? I'm not embarrassed to say, because I'm actually proud to say I took her course. And I don't look back at that and think, what a waste. I feel like that right there is why I'm where I'm at now, and why in the next probably year, my life is going to completely change, because I know that that's when the marketing starts. But I'm still building. I'm not done. It takes time. I still got stuff I'm ironing out.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you for sharing that. And I think there's a lot of people that, I don't remember exactly how you were the same way, where you invested in other coaches and programs and didn't get anything out of it. But I think many accountants, bookkeeping firm owners, tax firm owners, you invest a lot in what I call information, right? Like the what to do. But here at the Abundant Accountant, Terri, you tell me how it is from your point of view. You invested in transformation, how to do it with accountability. So when you get information only, you're going to hit roadblocks without coaching, without feedback, right? You get caught up with busy work. You watch videos. No one reviews anything. You get sucked into all these free webinars and emails. And then you're like, no one's checking up on me anyway, so why am I going to do it? But here, it was different, because you had transformation, because information without really proper support doesn't actually lead to transformation. So what we believe here at the Abundant Accountant is that critical to have the support, to have people get you past your limiting beliefs and your fears, which I did on that first call. That's why you hated me. And then stay true and what's focused on your goals and what you want, which is, quit that job and play piano and make a lot of money. And what you did was you invested in transformation, which was a team of experts to walk you through the steps, to guide you. Like you said, you don't know where you want to go. You know you were capable of more. We just led you on that path. We were like that GPS that got you from point A to point B. And I think that's where the key is, that maybe a bunch of other programs and coaches don't provide that. And then people feel like, oh, it's another thing that didn't work. I got burned, or whatever that is for them.
Well, I think having coaches. I have an ADHD coach. I've got sales, not a sales, but like a public speaking coach. So I mean, I think coaching is something we're always going to be doing if you're really investing in yourself and growing,
Hmm.
because there's always new skills to learn, and just there's so many cool things to learn that you don't
Hmm.
learn them if you don't go out and seek it, right?
Yep.
But if you bring that good energy in.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like you said, you were like the other firm owners that you see a bunch of ads for things, you think you're going to get taken advantage of, right? Like, and what I'm saying is, yeah, you've experienced working with us, but there's other firm owners that might meet us off a Facebook ad. And what I'm saying was the difference is information versus transformation.
Absolutely. So I keep getting these tangents because it just hits me in and it has affected so many areas, but you're absolutely right. There's so many things in coaching that you can do, but all those are added on once you get that foundation.
Yeah.
Michelle's isn't like coaching, individual coaching is like I would with my ADHD coach or whatever. Michelle, yours was define who you want to work with. Define what kind of clients you want to have. Define what kind of money you want to make. Define,
How
what
you're going to
brand you're
talk
going to
to a
have. What's your
client.
sweet spot? What?
Hmm. How you're going to talk to a client, enroll
Yeah,
them and close them and get paid up front and
and
make
not spend an
money.
hour, spend 15 minutes on a call. Yeah, I mean, things like that,
Yeah.
I still have a hard time with because I am a talker, but it's I say, and I'm not saying I'm not your salesperson, but I'm just going to say for me, I started with Michelle, and well, actually, I started with a life coach for like 3 sessions, trying to decide what the heck I'm going to do with my life, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's when I found Michelle, and I'm like, all right, and that was from a Facebook ad, by the way.
Oh,
And I
we
kept
met off a
seeing it and kept
Facebook
seeing
ad.
it.
How cool is
Yeah,
that?
years ago. And I kept seeing that. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? And that's when we did the call. And that's when I signed up. And then I was panicked. And then it turned out to be a good thing, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But everything else that I've done is like in addition to that foundation. I still
Mhm.
have all these things in place. I still have my Google requests for their banking information, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's pretty spectacular. So if you're looking for a
Awesome.
place to start, I say start here, and then all these other little pieces, those are like extra scoops of ice cream that you're gonna just pile on, and then do the whole Sunday thing. But Michelle, I think what you do is different than anybody else because you're not selling anything. You're just helping us build a dang process. And
Yes.
every step of the way, you and Denise literally answer you read everything we write
Yeah.
because it's a shared document.
We
So you
review
go
all
in and
your
you literally
homework.
take, yeah,
We now have
everything.
a team
Even
of
Mark.
4 reviewing homework.
Yes. I mean, it's like a teacher. But
Yes.
that's the difference. You're helping us build something. You're not just
Yes.
telling us stuff and helping us, you're literally when we're done, I have a book that has all the stuff in it that I
Yeah.
built for
Yeah.
my
Your
business.
sales process binder. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
I love
that
it,
to me
Terry.
is, and I pull it out. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Thank you.
Terry, thank you so much for being here with us today on the Abundant Accountant podcast. It was an honor to have you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking me. I'd love to have you on my podcast in the future.
Yeah.
This is what it's about, guys. We're all trying to help each other be the best version of ourselves. Michelle's found a sweet way to do it that will just bring you into a community that you can like get over being nervous on a call and telling someone, well, I'm going to, this is how much it'll cost, blah, 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 and not
Mhm.
feeling like embarrassed or scared or worried. You're going to learn so much stuff in that program that you're going to take with you for the rest of the time you have your business. And even if you're
Yeah.
working for someone else, they still works, but
Yeah.
I needed it for running the business, and it was exactly what I needed. I'm really proud of myself for saying yes back then, even
I
though
am
I
too.
didn't do it in the nicest way.
I know. I was like, ooh, I don't know how this one's gonna go.
Hey, you let me come in. So I do love this whole situation that being able to share from rags to riches and from anger and frustration and
Mhm.
fear to abundance and joy and peace. I mean, that to me is transformational. It really
Awesome.
is.
And that's what we do. We help you transform your life, and you really did. So thank you again, Terri, for sharing so lovely. And it's been an honor to have you here and watch your growth over the last 3 years.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Everybody have a great night.
What an amazing episode with Terri. Such a powerful reminder that nothing changes until you make the decision to do something different. You know, a few years ago when I first spoke to her, she was exhausted, undervalued, and circling back to the false security of working for someone else. She could have stayed on that treadmill, but instead she took action. She reached out for help because she saw my Facebook ad. She invested in herself, even though she was very mean and not nice about it. And she built the firm of her dreams on her terms. She's now confidently enrolling concierge clients from $2,500 to $3,500 a month of recurring revenue per client. She has systems that give her the freedom of choice and confidence to say no when something just isn't feeling right. So if you're a firm owner, you own a bookkeeping, fractional CFO, accounting, or tax firm, and you're thinking, that's exactly where I'm at right now, Michelle. I'm overworked, underpaid, and unsure how to shift. Then this is your moment. Don't wait for another tax season to pass by. Don't wait for another year of burnout to go by. Go to theabundantcall.com and book your call with me. Let's schedule a time to talk about how you can stop discounting, how you can get off the treadmill, how you can start charging your worth, and how you can finally build the firm that supports the life instead of draining it. Terri made the choice, and you can too. The only question is, are you ready to stop waiting and start creating the version of freedom and abundance in your life? If you are, go to theabundantcall.com, schedule your call with me and my team, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. I'll see you in the next episode.